I stare at him with big eyes. Then I understand. The universe that I was in couldn't have made it any clearer. Talk about synchronicity. "Hi there," he greets me and asks, "Are you dreaming? You don't see such a nice clear gaze every day." "Call me Mojo. I'll play along gladly." I look directly into his eyes. I see how Nathan's face changes, and suddenly a completely different person is standing in front of me. I'm astonished, but I don't wonder about it or feel stupid. I'm just observing, and there's no room for incomprehension. Something inexplicable just happened, and my mind uses its first best possibility to try out the new programming. Only yesterday did I experience an inexplicable time travel, which I'm still in, and I was feeling confused, uprooted, and uneasy. Now, I'm only experiencing interest, and I'm enjoying the show. Well, hello, Mojo. I'm Nathan, and I think I'm really dreaming. Just not in a dream world that's different from reality, but in a reality that's just become a dream before we met. That's where the clear gaze comes from. I can feel the look and can't see my eyes, but I can perceive him from within me. I can feel inside myself how I'm perceiving him, how the muscles around my eyes feel, and a tingling in my temples. I'm standing astounded in front of you because in the first few seconds you looked like me to me. Then your look changed when you said something that didn't fit to what I saw. Your name. And as you were speaking, your voice changed too, I've just realized. I'm just as surprised. You sound as if you've just connected. Is it so? Have you used your console yet? Asks Mojo, obviously interested. What console? Asks my mind, just as interested, not feeling in any way inferior about the knowledge gap. It holds it open towards Mojo in my mind's eye, like a bag waiting to be filled with something. A thought shoots through my head. This is cool, not having to know something and being able to ask. I notice how a feeling of pleasure automatically arises in me. Yes, this is great, and no one except me has to allow it. "Oh, your head," says Mojo. "You really don't know what I'm talking about, do you?" Unfortunately not. I'm time traveling. You can think what you like, but I can't see anything else at the moment." "So you're telling me you've never used your head, but can time travel?" he asks with big eyes, but not in an unfriendly way. "How does that work?" "I don't know. Why shouldn't it work?" "Well, because you need your head for such things. How else would you perceive something?" "But wait, you said you're time traveling. Where do you come from?" I notice how friendly he is, and I don't have any reservations. I know from Mary that we agreed to meet here, and that no meeting can happen without a previous arrangement on a soul level. I'm standing wide awake in front of Mojo and am feeling ecstatic. How interesting and amazing life can be if you only observe it. I can feel that Mojo has something for me, and I have something for him. That is the basis of exchange, which simply doesn't happen if there is no flow in both directions, whatever that may be. So to find out what Mojo has for me, I don't have to do anything but observe what comes next. It's like sitting in a cinema where the screen is all around me. The film has been running the whole time, but I've only noticed it now. I'm almost bursting with curiosity. I notice how the next words leave my mouth on their own, as they form themselves automatically, as if they were pre-written. Any others wouldn't have made any sense, especially not to me. 2015. I somehow landed here yesterday and have been feeling like Alice in Wonderland ever since. I've experienced things that have baffled my mind. I'm getting a new one, or at least I can see how it's creating itself. And suddenly, you're standing in front of me, telling me I've never used my head. Would you like to walk a bit with me and tell me more? Mojo looks at me with surprise. 2015? That's 5 years ago. I admit I haven't been playing that long, but I've become hooked. We start walking and I listen to what he says. You know what an Xbox or PlayStation is, I presume? He asks. Sure, I have one back in my time. Do you still use them? Now and again, he answers with a mischievous look. For example, to show people like you how we play today. Otherwise, the games for the head console are much cooler. Slowly, more and more people lost interest in computer games. Why only play with 2 senses when you have 5 or more to use? Let me show you what I mean. You know the graphics of the old consoles? Now close your eyes and think about the best graphics you've ever seen. Open your eyes again and look at my graphics. Look around you. That's head console graphics. And this, he cups his hands around his ears, this is my sound. Dolby Surround is a joke in comparison. The head console in the standard human edition also comes with 3 passive senses, through which impulses can be received and perceived. Can you follow? Yes, I can. I'm living on a holodeck. Always have been. I can see the analogy of the virtual computer worlds and how they copy matter. It's exactly the same. All this here isn't real, is it? I ask, pointing around me. Sure it is, he smiles, but only in the illusion. They aren't mutually exclusive. Reality is an illusion, but the illusion can be perceived as completely real, just like on a computer screen. You know how captivating games are on the old consoles? You can lose yourself in them, even if only 2 senses are being used. Now imagine you're in such a game, only you can use 5 senses at the same time and experience it all as being completely real from the perspective of your game avatar. How long do you think it would take to forget that you are a character in a game and not the character itself? You're just identifying yourself with the character. Somehow and sometime it happened to us all, us humans. We could not have learned certain lessons in the Matrix if we had realized that we were an illusion, like a computer game. Our fear of death, for example, definitely isn't the same since we've realized that it's all just a game. No one fears it anymore. In our time, it's become unnecessary and has virtually disappeared. I am impressed, and I see myself, Nathan from 2015, in front of me, not the face of the other, but as if he were standing next to him. I can observe him. I can see him like someone else, about whom I also don't know any more of, his stories or histories. I can see Nathan's stories and the roles he played, is playing, and will play. Everything exists in this moment. It all makes perfect sense now. In one moment, I can see Nathan's entire film throughout his reincarnations, like folders in a filing cabinet, all nicely stored on my internal screen. In all sequences of the film, there is a storyline, which measures itself in every small detail of this epic work. I can see that nothing happens randomly, without ground or cause, and that's why everything in life makes sense. I really feel that I'm in a computer game. Everything seems real. The matter around me hasn't changed any through my new experience, but I can now see the matrix, the 3D screen around me. It was always there, right in front of me, but I can only see it now. How did you know that I hadn't used my head console yet? I want to know, because his answer will give me more valuable tips and clues to help my mind understand. It sits waiting like a hunting dog, ready to perform its task, and it loves this game of words. Well, when you told me that you first saw yourself when we met, that reminded me of what happened when the first people became OnMind and started playing. When you start consciously seeing the world around you as a virtual world, it starts showing itself as such. For many people, that went really quick. Those that were mostly in front of their consoles hardly noticed the change, but almost everyone can tell you their experience of becoming connected. I believe that just happened to you. You realized that everything around you isn't that what it seems, just through another method, not through OnMind gaming. Now I also realize why I had the urge to take a walk. I'm obviously here to give you an upgrade so that you can understand what you've now unlocked. And now I can explain why you first saw yourself. You can only perceive other players through interpretation. You mustn't forget that there are no opponents. Everything is one in this world. And the old programs of Earth allowed the illusion of separation. There are no secrets, but not all information is available to everyone the whole time, especially not where someone is in a complicated game, which we all are, by the way, to learn something, as it's all the same anyway. Because you've just come out of such a game by completing the necessary tasks, things will be different for you now. As you've just come OnMind, you have the starter kit. He has a good laugh and squints at me and says, I would love to know what I look like to you. I know you're seeing me with the starter kit. To be able to use interpretations, they must first be unlocked. You don't have to do anything for that. That's why there are tutorials. These you will recognize in conversations like this one, which are full of information and explanations. You'll find them everywhere in the game. So as you can only interpret another frequency, another player, me, the only logical interpretation that could be perceived was you. If you like, you can internally use it for interactions with other players globally. That helps a lot in reminding you that every other player is there to reflect and act as a mirror for you. It's a monitor, he explains, pointing to all around us with stretched out arms. We're walking next to each other here, but you can be sure that I'm seeing everything here completely differently than you are. That's due to the fact that perception works selectively. Each player builds their own world. Some of us are really, really good at it. When they unlock their perceptions, everyone can see through their eyes. You can download whole sets of filters and look at the world through the eyes of almost anyone. Some people don't want to play yet and don't want to use their heads. They call it the devil's work and call us hellspawn because they're afraid when we do such things. He raises his arm slightly and a fist-sized rock floats slowly off the ground into his hand, light as a feather. He looks at me knowingly, takes aim and throws it up high. It disappears into the sky and doesn't return. There are still some dinosaurs around. but they are dying out. They are choking on their own hate. I see images in Nathan's imagination of dinosaurs choking on their own hate. One of them looks like Mrs. Merkel. She doesn't look at all well, Nathan's mind thinks. I see the sister who I'm one with, who is still there to act as a reflection for others, and I feel empathy. Stay strong, brave girl, I send to her. Nathan and I see how her face changes and she gets a coughing fit. Love is killing her, explains Nathan's mind. Can you send a heartfelt message? Nathan's mind wants to know. And the question is asked through Nathan. I can see the processes happening, how something is done through someone, divinely inspired. Everything seems to be running like the gears of a clock, and it continues fluidly. Yes, answers Mojo. It's like sending an email. You think of the receiver and send a thought or feeling, or both, or smells or tastes. This has always been called telepathy, and we've actually always been using it. Just that we haven't realized it as we've been distracted the whole time. Now, through OnMind gaming, and because it's spreading so quickly as more and more players are connecting by consciously living their lives, as if in a computer game wherever they are, we are able to use these great abilities. Word spread quickly about the OnMind gaming freaks, but we are harmless and lovable freaks, he says with a wide smile. However, these freaks began to spread team play around the world. When you know that there are no opponents, you also can't treat anybody as one. So you're then perceived as being pleasant company. Then even the hardliners in the counterculture didn't have arguments anymore. So it's simply spread like that? Asks Nathan. In his imagination, things like that first connected energetically, then broke out with perfect timing. There seemed to be an interest everywhere already. There was an underground radio station on the internet back then, okeytalk.com, where everyone was suddenly speaking of the equality of virtual and real worlds, and the listeners were captivated. I was also one back then. A friend told me about OkeyTalk and that I should really listen in. 2 days later, I was reminded again, once by WhatsApp. So I clicked on the link, and an hour later, my world wasn't the same again. I was chilling with my buddies in the park, and after 10 minutes, we were all captivated. There were people speaking about a new generation of game consoles who were apparently using them already, and that was enough to speak several times a week about them. Others were speaking about the new ways of seeing things. It was interesting and extremely helpful. They spoke about free energy and generally about energy itself, about what was happening around us and why. Suddenly, everybody was speaking to each other. There only seemed to be expansions and no contradictions. Everyone could and should say what they were thinking. For a while, most comments started with, "What suddenly came to my mind was..." It was a big help in seeing all points of view, and it didn't matter who said what. No one complained about not being able to speak, as we were all invited to speak. If they had more to say than what fit in a show, they could simply make their own channel on okeytalk.com, YouTube, Facebook, and countless other channels. That caused people to free their spirits and accept any thoughts that came and speak freely about them. You now also peaked around that time. Suddenly, everyone who had the urge turned on their webcams and shared their thoughts with the world. A network of free people, Terra Nia, also became known through OkeyTalk. It reminded us that regardless of which country we are in, we were all on Earth. Our Earth. Terra Nia. That's what it means. We started discussing about who decides which nationality a person is, and that countries themselves are nothing more than illusions in our heads. They weren't our borders. And the more we played OnMind, the more we realized so. And we started transcending them, even physically. Terra Nia issued identity documents for each person that wanted to be a citizen of Earth. When the first people started reporting that they could order plane tickets with the IDs and could enter and leave Russia and China without problems, the whole platform boomed. Suddenly, everyone got the feeling they could do something. The stagnation we were all sitting in dissolved because we started taking action.